We see a lot of celebrities in the news today putting their spin on politics. You see it on Twitter with actors or actresses going after politicians or, in fact, the president. I don't know if it drives you nuts, but there's a time and a place for it, and all it does is add to the chaos. We have a great guest here today to talk about what that really means and put her professional spin on it. Find out more coming up next. So much time on social media. Admit it, you do. Even when you try to say, I'm quitting Facebook, you still secretly go there. Much like Devin Nunes did on Twitter. He didn't really quit it. He's still on there. Stop saying you're going to quit, Devin. We know you like it. It's like the president. You hate Twitter or you hate Fox, but yet you're still there. Anyways, we're going to be talking about celebs, influencers, and people in the business world using social media or any kind of platform to get their values across and how it affects elections or trends in our country or anywhere else in the world. We have an amazing guest today, Cooper Lawrence, and she'll be stopping by to share with us her insight after years of working in this industry and understanding the value of it. She's going to talk about her new book that's coming out in July. So we're going to drop that link in there for you. But let's get to the point with Cooper Lawrence. Welcome to the show, Cooper. How are you doing today?
Hey, thanks for having me.
We don't have anything to talk about, right? There's nothing going on in the news. Everybody's behaving.
Boring world. Everyone's healthy. Not a problem. Politics, not an issue. I mean, I saw a horror film this week, and I was like, yeah, this doesn't scare me half as much as 2020 has been scaring me.
Oh, I thought you said you were watching the Tulsa rally on Saturday. Sorry. 6,200 people apparently showed up. I guess the 1 million didn't get their tickets. So I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, my favorite thing is that it was the kids who love Kpop music, the Kpop stans, we don't say fans anymore, we say stans. Yeah. And a bunch of the Gen Zers, the Zoomers is what we're calling them now. They went after Trump. I mean, it gives me hope for the future, because when I was their age, I didn't even know who the president was. They're really politically active, and I think it's really cool that they are trying to turn this country around.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I have a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old in my house. She'll be 16. And I hate saying it, but it's getting closer and closer every time I say when she'll be 16. August is right around the corner now, which I don't know where all the time went. In such a bad year, it actually is starting to fly by, which is good. I'd like 2020 to end. I'm like, okay, the dumpster fire. Keep on moving. But, she talks about it, and it's amazing that she doesn't have a right to vote yet, but they're very politically motivated. They're constantly communicating with each other on Snapchat. They know what's going on.
But Eric, what do you make of that? Because at their age, I literally knew nothing and I didn't really care. Why do your kids care so much? Why does that generation care so much now? Is it the fact that Trump is so polarizing? It's
because they have social media. They can get anything, and Trump irritates. Trump pisses them off because they haven't. You got to think about it. As much as we don't want to say it, our generation, hate was something that we kind of grew up around. Racism was. Now it's coming to a twofold in 2020.
Right.
A lot of our kids haven't been raised around it. They don't know. When they look at history books, the story of Rosa Parks causes them to cry, or they watch something on Netflix. I watched the 13th on Netflix with my daughter, and she was bawling. So was I. It's very intense. But Right. She was blown away because in school they don't show, because everything's so fast, they don't show how bad civil rights were in our country. They're awful still, don't get me wrong, but how
Right.
bad they were with segregation. She had no idea.
She has, I mean, my wife is the CEO of our company, so she's around powerful women, which is outstanding. My sister is an awesome executive producer in Hollywood, so she's around powerful women a lot, and all the folks that work for us are mostly women, so she understands that women haven't been respected in the workplace, but she had no idea about racism because she never looked at it as anything other. So they're politically motivated because they don't want to live in a hate-filled society, and they're like,
right.
What, like when we had the conversation, why are there Confederate, why are these monuments being brought down? And of course, as a vet, I'm like, bring those puppies down. Why do we have people who lost? I've never agreed with that. And I know people on the other side will be furious. What do you mean it's history? We don't remember people who lose. You're not putting up whoever the Patriots who they beat in the Super Bowl. In Germany, Italy, and Japan, you're not seeing, Hitler and everybody else have statues. They lost. The Civil War is something we're proud of. We freed slaves, but secretly we didn't because Juneteenth taught us all those people in the South just moved their slaves to Texas, and it took that. And a lot of people don't know that. And despite the man in orange who claims that he did, I brought more attention to Juneteenth. No, you didn't, bro. We've been talking about it along. Right. I mean, this is the same guy who said he called Mattis Mad Dog for the first time. It's like, bro, no, he didn't. 2004, we have, and beyond. In fact, his call sign is Chaos 6. For anybody who's playing at home, he really hates being called Mad Dog. His call sign is always Chaos 6, hence why his book's called that. So I really think, it's funny, I'm being interviewed. It's funny on my own show. I love it.
Yes, because I'm interested because, the median age, I don't know if you saw the studies that have come out since the protest, but the median age of the kids that are out there protesting was 23. Mm-hmm. 23. I mean, I don't know what you were doing at 23. I had things that I cared about. Like I really cared about, rights for like gay rights and that sort of thing. But it wasn't like it is now. And the fact that these kids are so passionate from 13 and up, it gives me hope for the future that they want to take their country back.
They do.
And maybe because we were so apathetic, our generation, that this is like the rebellion. We're going to super care.
Yeah. But we had different presidents growing up. I mean, if you think about it, like I remember I served under Clinton and Bush, or Bush and then Clinton. Clinton and then Bush. There you go. Sorry. Okay. There was a Bush there somewhere. There's a Bush before and a Bush after. That's how you remember Clinton.
That's right. You had one of them.
It's kind of weird. And then there's Obama, right? Which is awesome, right? Three, to me, I just listed my favorite presidents. Besides Reagan, loved Reagan. I think Reagan everybody loved. He was our Hollywood president. I think it's different because we actually had qualified people in office. No matter what you say, a lot of people don't like that, but in the 80s and 90s, we had, and even in 2000, I know people don't like Bush Jr. I loved W. I thought he did a great job. 9/11, I don't know how anybody could have handled 9/11, period, end of sentence. That was a bad day for anybody. I mean, and we know what, the idiot who's in office now said on 9/11. He's like, looks like I'm going to have some more property. Thanks, bud. It just kind of shows you the guy he is.
Right,
but I mean,
disconnect.
I think it's different because our kids can go research and they don't forget. I just read, interesting enough, there was a tweet somebody shared with me last night from 2013 from our fearless leader who's in office currently right now. And his tweet says from 2013 that, call me old-fashioned, but I don't think women belong in combat. True story.
That tweet did not age well.
No, it didn't, because he's the leader of the free world. He's the clown of the free world. He's done nothing but disrespect. I mean, as a military man, he's disrespected. My daughter doesn't thank God for our Supreme Court with their rulings in the last 14 days coming out in favor. I'm so happy with it being Pride Month. They came out with it. I was like, yeah, haha. And it was his people voting for it, which made me even happier. It was like, haha.
I had interviewed Chase Strangio, was one of the lawyers from the ACLU who fought and spoke in front of SCOTUS for that great law that was just passed for gay rights and for trans people to be treated fairly at work. And I mean, it really felt like an uphill battle for those for all the ACLU lawyers, but they had law on their side. And I love the fact that that SCOTUS decided, you know what, we're not here to be political, we're here to be legal. So we're going to do with what the law says and the Constitution says. Yeah. And that's the big lesson. The fact that Trump got so upset afterwards, it's like, you got upset that they followed the law and the Constitution? You should be applauding them and saying, you know what, politically, I don't agree with that because, that's just not what my beliefs are or whatever your problem is. But just at least acknowledge that SCOTUS did their job. They followed the Constitution. which is what everybody should be doing.
It's funny how everyone has this opinion, right? Like I said, when he came out and he was angry, and one of my Republican friends was quick to call me and, oh, you're going to celebrate. He's going to appeal it. And I was like, what the man needs to do is grab that Bible that somebody handed him and hopefully put it right side up. And instead of going across the street to a church he's never been to except once over a year ago, how about he hook a right, go down Pennsylvania Avenue and go over to the National Archives and look right there. He can't touch it like the rest of us can't. There's the Constitution. Have a read, my friend. You might want to read it. I know it's not porn or any other thing that clown reads, but I guarantee you he could get access to the National Archives and read it. And it disturbs
Or have someone read it to you. You know what? If you don't want to read...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get it. Just have someone read it to you, or maybe put it in like an audio book, stick in your ears while you're flying somewhere. Just take a little listen.
Maybe just try. Just when you're going to your rallies with millions of people not in attendance, you can do that. I mean, it's funny, but let's jump into this. So you have a book coming out. We're gonna jump around on this, but I want to talk about your book. Bear with me while I read your book's title, because I love it. So you have a new book coming out. It comes out here in July, but it's available to pre-order on Amazon. I've already done that, by the way.
Thank you very much.
But I will ask for a signed copy afterwards too, though. Just so
of course.
I mean, of course.
Naturally.
That's how this works. I like signed books. I mean, I love books. It's funny. I get books both to listen. My wife makes fun. I have 3 versions of every book I own. I have an Audible version because I listen. Mm-hmm. I like to hold a book because I also like to read.
Right.
And then I like getting like the one I can put on my phone, because when I'm sitting around or doing something, I don't know, I'm weird. Like, I don't.
No, it's not that. I'm the same way. Like if I'm reading something or listening to it or whatever, I'm in the middle of a book.
Yeah.
Why should I walk away from it? If I can hold a book and read it, great. But if I'm going somewhere, I want to continue to listen to the story or whatever it is I'm listening to.
And they're like baseball cards for me. Like I love getting I like interviewing folks who write books. Then I can get an autograph, and you're like, yeah, I got it signed, and people are like, what? I'm like, but it's cool to me. I think that's a cool thing because books are.
Nerd.
I'm a book nerd, and I'm proud of it. Hey, all my kids love reading, so I'll brag on that. But your book...
No, as an author, I love that. Yeah.
Your book is called Celebritycity, right? Did I say that right?
Nope. CelebritoCracy.
CelebritoCracy. There you go. Look, there it is. The Misguided Agenda of Celebrity Politics and Postmodern Democracy. And that's published by Post Hill Press. We're going to give them a shout-out, Post Hill Press. That's a mouthful of a book right there. But an interesting topic in a day and age where politics and Hollywood combine. I could give probably a recent one, and you could jump all over it. We've had 2. Recently, Ron Perlman, who is Hellboy, or famously was the head of a biker gang out of a fictitious town. And Sons of Anarchy. Clay Morrow, by the way. I can tell I watched the show. Jax was so much better than Clay. And I was an Opie fan, too. But famously, Ron Perlman was attacked by, presidential butt kisser. Representative from Florida, Matt Gaetz, who, in case you haven't forgotten, has multiple DUIs. And suddenly, in the last 2 weeks, also has a son. There's a guy who miraculously created a child that happens to be over 18, and he once called him his page. More than once, actually.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a true story. He did call him his page. Again, social media doesn't age things very well for people who forget that we can go look. I think that answers your question.
Why wouldn't he acknowledge his own kid? Did he have it out of wedlock?
No, he's adopted. He adopted him from Cuba. But people are like, you called him your page for like 4 years, and now he's your kid. It's interesting. And he's a special guy. We all know he's a trust fund baby, and he's special, and he's best known for being around the president constantly, smiling and kissing butt and acting like he does a lot. But he went after Ron, calling, how dare you attack the president because you played a white supremacist in Sons of Anarchy. And I'm like, I watched the show multiple times. I've watched it again since we've been here. Clay Morrow was the head of Sons of Anarchy, which, if you look around the table... Yep, there's a lot of white guys at it, but there happened to be Happy, who is a real person, who is a Latino, who actually is like a Hell's Angel. And then you have Ortiz, I forget what character, Juice on the show. I apologize. He does a lot for vets. Both of those characters are not white guys. And nor do they play white guys on the show, and they're sitting at the table. There was white supremacists in the show, Henry Rollins.
Yeah, but either way, it's acting. They're actors.
Yeah, and that's what I loved. He said, "I'm an actor."
Them.
He's like, "I'm an actor."
It wasn't a documentary.
No, that's what I don't get. So why is this? Why doesn't Hollywood? Let's ask it in reverse. Why doesn't DC understand actors and actresses play a role? They can have a political stance, and some of them make sense. Like I said before you came on, I believe there's also been the hypocritical side, so it's kind of a two-part question. Matt Damon and Bradley Cooper, both famously have played very violent roles.
That's right.
And both after shootings have both come out and say they're anti-weapon, and it's like, bruh, you were freaking, Jason Bourne, and Bradley, bruh, you played, one of the greatest snipers of our times in Chris Kyle. It's a little weird that you're like so anti when you had no problem getting paid to sit behind one. I know you're an actor, but there's that fine line. And of course, the problem is politics takes over, especially who we have in now. When the circus comes to town, it's, very few. I mean, come on. It's the first time I've ever seen a president have almost every music he plays, the artists are like, dude, stop playing my music. I mean,
it's true.
It's true. Everybody. I saw another one today. But I mean,
saw Brandon Urie today.
Yeah, it's like everybody's like, please.
Panic at the Disco was like, shut it down. Yeah.
And Tom Petty's family's like, dude, we told you once. We're not going to say it again. Like,
exactly.
Go find your band that you need. Apparently, they found one because they were on social media whining that they were harassed for not wearing their masks on a Southwest Airlines flight, which is nice. The president, that's what he flies his band on, is Southwest. Shows how much he cares. And they weren't wearing their masks, and people were lecturing them because they were wearing their MAGA hats. I'm like, dude, anybody who's wearing one of those things, you kind of deserve it. And you probably wear it for the attention. I think when I see people in it, you're just wearing it for attention.
Yeah, it's weird if there's a MAGA hat and a mask together. That's not, if you're looking at fashion, that outfit doesn't go together. It's one or the other.
And neither does common sense, but that's kind of...
Yeah, right.
But so why is it that DC is so obsessed with Hollywood? They always are like, oh, they're violent, they're this. It's like they're acting. So. Right.
Well, you're asking two separate questions. Yeah. So, first of all, the whole thing with Matt Gaetz and Ron Perlman, there is a disconnect. But remember, politicians now are treated like celebrities. They're really insular, and they feel like they can say whatever they want to, whether it's logical or not, the same way celebrities used to be able to, because frankly, nobody is calling them out on it. All they have is yes men around them, especially now. So they can literally say anything, whether it's true or not. And they know that they have a crowd of people that's going to cheer them on and say, yeah, that you got them, even though there's no logic to it whatsoever. That used to be the bastion of celebrities only, where celebrities would come out and do these wacky things, and then, because nobody around them would say no. The second question that you asked about Matt Damon and Bradley Cooper, that's a bigger problem, because now we live in a time that you do have to put your money where your mouth is. If you are playing snipers and playing people with guns and you're anti-gun, you should make that connection. You should stop playing those characters. Because all that says to me is, as long as we pay you enough, you're willing to put your morals aside. So I think it's more important that celebrities that are truly passionate about something, there's a lot of these celebrities that say nothing. They come out, they get a paycheck, they're in a movie, and they go on with their lives, and they don't make any statements politically whatsoever. But if you feel the need to make a political statement, the work you do, the creative work you do, shouldn't be a disconnect.
No, and you're right. I think people lose track of that, especially out of Hollywood. Not out of Hollywood.
Right.
I mean, yeah, money is the ultimate goal. They're actors. They have roles they have to take. But they need to stand behind themselves. And I think we're seeing a change. Bradley hasn't had a very violent role. I haven't seen Matt Damon in anything in a long time. Good for him. I mean, everything he's plays very softer side of Sears, which is
right.
Which is good.
I think that's what happened. I think enough people said to them, "Are you kidding me? If you really feel that way, your work needs to reflect that. Otherwise, we're not going to believe a word you say. Yep. Like, stop stumping for or against the NRA."
Yep.
Put the guns down on film. I watch a lot of BBC television. Mm-hmm. I like all the DCI shows. I don't know why, I just do. But the thing that I find really interesting is the BBC must have some law or rule about no guns. Because quite often you see a cop show where the cops are running around. They're just like, stop. And the criminal's like, oh, you got me. There's no guns. No. Nobody has guns. They're just like, stop. And then they'll talk them into you should really stop killing women. Get in my car. We'll go down to the precinct and talk about it in a British accent.
Yeah. But, you didn't want to do a British accent there?
no, you definitely don't want me to try. But, you know, they don't have guns, and I find it interesting because I'm like, all you need is a gun. You'd get the guy in 2 seconds. But I guess England, you know, at least the BBC has something about that we don't. I mean, kids, there's been tons of studies about this. I have a PhD in psychology and developmental psychology. And a lot of studies that I worked on about kids and television, they have seen an inordinate amount of violence by the time they're like 5 years old. And that's just in like cartoons, not even the news, just what they see on television, what they watch. They see a lot of violence. So I think in England they're trying to turn that around. But I just think, you know, you can't unring that bell. So if you're a celebrity and you stand by, even if, no matter what your statement is, if you are anti-vaxxer or pro-vaxxer, don't go do a movie that is the opposite of the way you feel.
I like that. So let me ask you this. So, you know, celebs, I think they lead, a lot of people follow them. And we're in, in case you don't know, viewers, we're in election 2020. And what we've been presented with, when I actually thought the Democrats actually had a stable full of amazing people to choose from, we end up with Biden. You know,
Yeah.
like Tulsi and Mayor Pete, my 2 picks. I've said this clearly on my show over and over again. I would vote for those 2 in a heartbeat. I love Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, she's been attacked by both sides. That means she's doing something right. She's a veteran. She's just awesome. And same thing goes for Mayor Pete. But again, controversial to American culture because, oh my God, he's gay, which throws our Southern voters, they can't handle it. We're already removing a flag that they lost a long time ago. They can't handle it.
Like anybody cares. Like, what do I care who you're sleeping with? Like, that even matters anymore? Who cares? You know,
what year are we in? I thought it was 2020, not 1940.
I truly thought that Biden was a placeholder. I really did. I did not think that he was going to be the nominee. I was like, don't worry about it. He's not our guy. There's no way they're going to have an old white guy. You know, I mean, this is the Democratic Party. We're going to have somebody that represents the Democratic Party, the liberal agenda. No, here's an old white guy.
Yeah. And the Republicans, nobody will speak out. But I think it's funny because if you look at the Republicans in 2016 leading up to election, they were all anti-Trump. Lindsey Graham is the ultimate whoop whoop from he's an idiot to oh my God all the time. I mean, and Mitch McConnell, same thing. I mean, Mitch is just as dinosaur-y as Pelosi. It's like both of you lead. The problem is at least one tries to do something and the other one's Mitch McConnell. Sorry, Mitch. You're in Kentucky, bro. You're probably like one of the most racist people we probably can talk about. But I think politics is entwined into everything we do. Why do people have such an issue with celebrities speaking out on politics? Why is that bad? I mean, are they not voters? I mean, they are. Is it the threat that they may sway the vote? I mean, what's the problem with hearing Clint Eastwood, who was at the RNC in 2016, say, I'm not voting for Trump? Is that bad? I mean, are we supposed to tell these guys not to use their position of power or influence to do it? We have no problem when a Kardashian does it, but it's bad when someone else... I mean, where's that fine line? I mean, are celebs supposed to be quiet and just act?
I love this question because it's been going on for a very, very long time, you know, from the very beginning when they decided that celebrities can stump for presidents and they can put them forth and start using their star power. I mean, that was something that happened around the time of JFK, and it's been going on ever since. You know, statistically, the data shows that they actually do not have a lot of influence, that they do not influence a vote. They influence people to vote and to register to vote, but they don't actually influence a vote. You know, on a smaller level, let's talk about like what Taylor Swift just did, where she was completely against the woman running for Senate in Tennessee, in her state of Tennessee, where she's from. You know, she got 59,000 kids to register to vote. It wasn't enough, and they ended up not winning, but it was pretty close. So she did get them politically engaged and politically activated. So they do bring awareness, but they don't really have a huge impact on voting because people still know that I'm not going to vote with my favorite celebrity. I'm going to vote with what's best for my family and my pocketbook. And I think that's why people get upset with celebrities, because it's like, stop telling me what to do. You know what? Just go make a movie. You know what I mean? Go sell your products. Stop telling me how to live my life. So I think people feel like it's okay if you, you know, if you're doing something, if you're out there telling me what movie you have coming out, but just don't tell me how to spend my money.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you said that. It is interesting, and I know we talked off camera, but I'm going to bring it up. Things that the media seems to sugarcoat and why they don't become stories. Now, since April 22nd, out of Fort Hood, Texas, we've had a missing 20-year-old, which was funny. When I told you this, you had no idea. And
I had no idea.
You're in the mecca of media. I don't even know where to start why this case is so. I mean, if we had Nancy Grace around, except she went to Fox, so now she's like not credible. It's like you go to Fox, you lose all like firepower. People are like, "Oh, you're at Fox," but Nancy would be covering this. But why do you think it is? It's now we're well past. It's June. We're in late June now, and you look at it, and April 22nd. That's a while ago. But no mention of anything outside of a very small part of Texas has heard of this. Even earlier, I went on social media and asked people who knew about this because I have a large veteran following.
Explain the story a little bit better. So, this 20-year-old, she's at Fort Hood.
She's at Fort Hood.
What's her rank?
She's a private or PFC, so E1, E2, very low ranking, 20 years old. In the Army with 3rd Regiment, Engineering Regiment. I'm a Marine, so sorry, Army folks out there. I promise I'm not butchering your structure of your branch. Just make it easier like the Marine Corps. That's why we do it. It's pretty simple. We don't have special ranks. It's like, we get it. It's like, she's a private, and this is who she belongs to. Right. But she had already complained about being sexually assaulted and sexually harassed to her chain of command. Her last communication with her family said that an unnamed sergeant had walked in on her in her shower, which to me as a male Marine was really shocking when asking other vets, female service women, good friends of our show have shared with us that that's a strangely common occurrence, which made me go like, oh crap, like my good friend who was a guest on our show recently, she said that and she wasn't being snarky. And I took it as, oh my God, to me that's blew my mind that she said it because it's just like, and I know that's how the military has handled this for years. I mean, sexual assault in the military, it's sugarcoated from the top down. I mean, these flag officers that sit at the Pentagon and everywhere else have basically ignored this. I mean, it even goes back, I don't know if you remember, a few years ago, they had something called Marines United, where they exposed a Marine Corps Facebook group that was taking provocative pictures of fellow Marines and fellow service members and posting them and sharing them and talking about brothers and sisters in arms in graphic details. Right. Barely anything happened. I think 3 dudes ended up in the brig. I mean, it's like,
wow.
Like, no generals lost any. And that's the problem is enlisted will lose.
Tell me, you're the Marine. You tell me. So why is it that they are so light on people that they don't take these stories seriously? Why isn't anybody investigating this? Where is she? Why is there nobody trying to figure out where she is? I mean, isn't that what the NCIS people are supposed to be doing? Aren't there people that are there whose job it is to investigate what goes on in the military? Where are those people?
Absolutely. We don't know. I mean, the scary thing is talking to people in the Army, just my friends who have been stationed at Fort Hood, or mill spouses their husbands were at Fort Hood, or their wives were out. I'm just being nice to the mill spouses. Sorry, I didn't mean to say you're all wives, because you're not. I totally get that. But the ones I talked to, she happened to be a wife of one, and she's a good friend of ours. Another good friend of the show, and she said Fort Hood is a nightmare, which is scary because if you think of it, we had that mass shooting at Fort Hood a number of years ago. So I don't know if it's an exposure of base, but my answer to you is this. The biggest problem is generals don't want to look bad, right? Because this is how they continue to pin on rank. So they can end up being great like General Mattis or General Kelly, who are decorated heroes, no matter who tells you differently. Those both are amazing men. Most generals are good dudes. But there's turds, and they don't want to look bad, right? Because they have this career, and their career path when they get out is judged by what they did when they were in. So you always have to be careful how they're going to look. Now, they'll always will fry an enlisted guy.
That make them look so good. If you were a general and you came forward and said, I want this investigated, this is not okay on my watch, somebody that is under me is missing, that would make you look amazing as a general.
Unless you're guilty.
Totally woke, totally feminist. Yeah. That would be the best thing you could possibly do.
Absolutely. But something's going on there because the story doesn't make sense. She was last seen in a parking lot at 11:30 a.m. A.m., not p.m., not off base, not some place where the cartel could have grabbed her. On base, last seen April 22nd, between the hours of 11:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. in front of her own regimental headquarters, which is completely bananas. It was on base. Nothing's been done. She has numerous accounts of this. In fact, folks, if you're watching, the head count was done, and her sergeant lied and said she was present, and when confronted about it, confessed that she was not there. So this story, I mean, I know this is completely off topic while we're talking, but to me, it's such a big story that we need to talk about it, because again, if we could get celebrities talking about it, which I know there's quite a few out there, and trust me, I'm tweeting away at them. You know, I am trying. I'm taunting some of like journalists, like, you're all so quick to tell us how great Trump or how bad Trump is, and I'm not defending the man at all, but if you're so quick to do that, how about you take 5 seconds for those heroes that you love to talk about in May and November?
Right. We love our military so much. Really? Well, here's a great opportunity for you to show how much you love the military, because here's a great investigation you can do. Yeah. I mean, look, Kim Kardashian, you know, in my book, Celebritycracy. Yes. I spend a lot of time talking about how Kim Kardashian is really the future of celebrity activism. I mean, the whole thing that she's doing right now with criminal justice reform and prison reform is amazing. It's unprecedented. And the fact that she has actual experts around her, she is somebody who would take up a case like that. I mean, it's worth it. People send her letters constantly. Please help my mom, my sister, my whoever get out of prison. They're wrongfully convicted, or they're there for 30 years for smoking a joint. Yeah. This is a great opportunity for someone like her or another celebrity who cares. I mean, see, in a sense of how celebrities influence, here's an opportunity for celebrities to help bring an important story to light.
But we'll see. It's 2 months now and still nothing. So I'm curious. So before you go, let's talk about, we've talked about your book, but I want to talk about it because it's the big news this week. As we went into this week, we started with the Bubba Wallace story out of Talladega. We've seen how this has played out. Now he's being vilified. He was a hero on Monday and a criminal by Wednesday. I don't know where to take this case. To me, it's being tried by the media. The right is going off on it, saying he made it up, which, number one, he didn't even report it. Two, the concerning thing is, who the hell's tying knots that look like nooses? I mean, I get it, it's Alabama, right. So it's Alabama. I mean, right. It's the same people we have to tell them to stop sleeping with their cousins. So, I mean, I'm not going to take very much too far. Everybody in Alabama is really angry at me right now. They're like, complaining. Sorry, I can't resist. Come on, it's too easy to pick on Alabama. Hey, I love you. Not really. I'm a Florida kid. That's the panhandle. You're just like,
oh, it is okay. It's like us versus New Jersey. I see. Okay, I understand.
That's exactly how it is. It's like
New York versus New Jersey.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, yeah, Alabama. What comes from Alabama? Don't know. People say Bama football, Bama. But here you have this driver who doesn't report it. They report a noose, and then it comes out the FBI's like, yeah, the noose has been there since October 2019. That's not weird. I mean, to me, it's like.
Right.
That's not weird. Like, there's a noose. Like, just that's cool. Like, you're cool with it. I mean, do you think do you think there was any like criminal intent by him to like jump on the move? And I think everybody's kind of guilty in the last couple of weeks. I mean, we had the whole upside down. This isn't a Bible. I'm picking on, standing in front of a church with, our book upside down that wasn't even ours, talking about diversity, taking a picture with 3 other white people, because that made sense. And then 2 days later, the left has to counter with the kneeling with social distancing and mask and the coming to America thing on, again, pandering. Right. Both sides are guilty on this. Is this like an innocent mistake from Bubba? Or, I mean, what's your feelings on this? I don't know how much you know on it, but to me, it's kind of a hot topic because it's like, we were all fired up. He's crying Monday. They're pushing his car out. We're all like, right. Power to the people. And then yesterday, the FBI's like, he lied. I didn't say he directly lied. They didn't find anything. But then he went on Don Lemon last night. Mm-hmm. Great interview. Started crying and was like, look, it's a noose. Who fashions that as a noose? We didn't make this up. I didn't even see it. He didn't report it. People are comparing him to Mr. Smollett. I
was going to say, like, Jussie Smollett is the one who, right, I know. But, that's really the damage of somebody like Jussie Smollett. And that's where celebrity comes in. That's really the damage he's done. And he still hasn't backed away from this, even though, like, there's so much evidence. And even the guys that he hired are like, no, it was Jussie Smollett. Like, this happened. But that now puts a kernel of doubt in people's minds. So that becomes a problem. But then, on the other hand, here in New York, on Long Island, we had it was the 7th lynching. And the police out there said, no, it was a suicide. So there have been 7 black men lynched in this country. And they have the nerve to don't even bother investigating it. Like, oh, it's a suicide, and that's it. You just walk away. I mean, what country are we living in? So that we have both going on.
Yeah.
So the answer is, I have no idea. Bubba's the only one who knows the truth. It seems like he's telling the truth. I didn't see the interview that he did, and I'd be able to tell. You know, you can always tell when someone's doing an interview.
Yeah.
When Jesse Smollett sat down with Robin Roberts, I was like, this guy's lying, because it was pretty obvious he was lying. So, I didn't see the interview, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But who cares is the bottom line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The bigger picture is we do whether there was a noose or not. Does that mean we don't have a problem with racism in this country? No, we still have a problem. You know what I mean?
A huge one.
A huge one, regardless of what some sports ball person has to say.
I mean, remember, we're still struggling with people who still can't get over the difference between all lives matter and Black lives matter, that we still have to spell it out. And I'm over it as a white guy, and I now understand it, and I can spell it out for you. But other people, Vice President Pence, but I mean, we're talking about a guy who thinks if somebody's gay next to you and sneezes that you could catch being gay. I mean, this is the guy we're talking about who's like, I'm saying all lives matter. What about all of them? I'm like, dude, you just...
Hang on a minute. If all lives matter, shouldn't George Floyd's life matter?
Yeah, but they don't get that.
I mean, that's a life too.
Yeah, but they don't get that. They
you know, it's the statement is just so moronic. Yeah, I'm with you.
But they're all with that. I mean, if you think about it, and I know your book is based largely upon that, but I mean, you probably have a lot to write on when it comes to the current administration. I mean, if you look at those guys, they probably give you punts of like, I mean, any day. I mean, it's great for comedy writers. I know that. They're just like, thank you. It's like a constant. I mean, and we went from Kellyanne Conway to the rest of this show troupe. It's like Circus Soleil with these people. I mean, every day it's, it's cringeworthy at best that you're just like, nobody says the same thing. Nobody's on the same page. He's like, remember Saturday? The president was kidding about cutting back on testing. What does the president say 2 days later? No, I wasn't. I don't kid.
Right, and that whole concept, the idea that like, because we're testing more, we're finding more coronavirus. Well, great. In that case, I'm never going to take a pregnancy test, and they'll never be pregnant.
Exactly. But remember, it was a Churchill moment for him to go stand in front of the church. Just so you know, comparing.
No, it was a church moment. He made a mistake. That was a church.
He walked over a hill, probably.
And then over a hill. That's what he said. I was church over a hill.
But he can drink water with his right hand. We should be proud of him, because I just don't get this. But I mean, it's been a pleasure. I don't want to keep you too much longer. It's been a pleasure having you on the show today. So much. Tell folks how they can order your book. Give a little pitch your book real fast so people know. And we're going to include, just so you know, we're going to include your link to your book in this. So folks, if you're watching this on YouTube and even on Facebook, please just scroll down. We're going to drop the link in there for you to be able to pre-order Cooper's book, because that just is
exactly
awesome.
Yes. Celebritocracy. It's on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com, and you can check out CooperandAnthony.com for my radio show.
Radio in just a small market in New York.
Yeah, just New York.
Just
yeah.
New York. Just New York.
So go check tiny market.
No, just this teeny tiny market nobody pays attention to.
Couple million people, but bunch of liberals.
Bunch of liberals. That's all you are. You're angry and you're looting. That's all they do in New York. You're angry and you all know the truth about the guy who's currently in the White House, and you're just like, we told you. I think
the number of people in New York that I know who know him or have known him for years that have stories about him from, really back in the day, there's literally nobody in New York anymore that doesn't have a Donald Trump story from at a time, like on a golf course, at a party, at a restaurant. Everybody has a story.
Yeah, we could ask Jeffrey Epstein, but oops.
Oops.
He's on photos with the man, and he hasn't really covered that. I know that they want to make it all about Clinton, but I'm like, there's another dude standing right next to him, and he's currently our president. And he's just like, I stopped talking to him like in 2014. Oh. Okay.
I have one more quick question for you before you go.
Oh,
Eric,
I like questions.
So do you think that Trump is done? Do you think in November it is a landslide for the Democrats?
Absolutely. I don't think landslide. I think it's going to be close, but I think this has activated more voters. I think traditionally, certain communities, I know the black community traditionally, and I hate saying this because I sound such like a pundit, but the black community traditionally always votes Democrat. I think they now have a way to do it, and it's just fired up more people. The clear-cut racism is out there. Anytime President Obama goes on and live stream anything, it's not just his supporters. It's the amount of racist Trump 2020 people that show up in there and say such derogatory things. Apparently, we need to tell the people in the middle of the country, because apparently those are the ones I can find that vote for the man. They don't know that once you earn the title president, it doesn't go away when you leave office. Because they're like, stop calling him President Obama. I'm like, bro, that's his name. Like, my title will always have Marine in it because I earned that title. He's the President of the United States, not once, twice. He did 8 years. Something Trump isn't going to be able to say, because I generally think what we're seeing, especially coronavirus, I think started doing him in. We were a little over the impeachment. The coronavirus, he lied. Let's remember back in February, I'm sure you covered it on your show. We got 15 sick people. We're going to cover them up. They'll be fine in a short amount of... and 110,000 Americans dead.
Right.
Yeah, good job. He did a great... So to answer your question, unfortunately, I think it's Biden. But again, choosing a president this year is the difference between shooting yourself in your chest and shooting yourself in the leg. You got to feel which one you like better. It sucks. And I'm hoping in 2024... either party gets somebody, because I feel if for the Republicans, they have Nikki Haley, who actually has experience, and she's good, and she could be a contender. But I also believe the Democrats have a great, I know there's a lot of them, but they're all old, but I like Tulsi Gabbard, I've said that a lot on this show, and Mayor Pete. I love both of them. They're young, they have that Kennedy spin to them, they've served their country, they're not going to send people off to war just to go to war. They're not gonna play this game with lobbyists. They both care about all communities. It's not just the white community. They understand civil rights. They get it. And I think that comes from serving. A lot of us who serve, and I've said this on our show, and I'll say it again and again and again, when we're measured by anybody, when they say how many veterans there are in America, they do not break us down by our color. They do not break us down by our sex. They do not break us down by our religion. It's veteran. Veteran. Period. End of sentence. They get that because we don't see that. I know it sounds cliche to say you don't see color, but we don't. We're just that way. When I say Marine, it's a Marine. It's not anybody other than when I say
somebody who cares enough about this country to put their life in front of it. And that we haven't seen for a very long time. No. I mean, the idea that somebody actually truly loves this country, doesn't feed us lip service, because, our BS meter is pretty high right now. And I think that's why, getting back to the beginning of our conversation, that's why younger people like to talk about politics, because their BS meter is a lot more in tune than ours was, and they get it.
Oh, yeah, because we've seen it. I mean, if you've looked in the last few years, I mean, you see these guys go on TV and they just lie. I mean, people are being caught. You could tell by interviews. I love that you said that, because it's true. I mean, the one that I famously remember is Chris Watts out of Colorado, the guy who murdered his... Oh. I mean, that dude was straight up just lying, and you're like, bro, he's guilty. Like, Good Morning America just put it on once. I was like, he did it. Oh, he did it. Without a doubt, he did it. I mean, it's the same thing when you look at the current president. When he says something, you're just like... Did he just said that out loud? It's like sometimes, those thoughts, and I think that's where the kids
get your inside voice. Yeah, right.
Like, yeah. And you're right. To end this and put a bow on it, kids are smart. And I think that's why, like, your book, I'm going to hand to my daughter and let her read it, because I'll probably buy a copy for her, because they get it, because celebrities don't influence them, because they all have their own style. They go to YouTube to kind of go, oh, I can do this and be kind of like, but put my own spin on it. But they're over the hate. They're over the ugly side. They want everybody to be taken care of, because that's how they're raised. I mean, most of our kids are raised the right way, and we don't see color. We don't care who you're in love with. We're not like, oh my God, nobody cares. It's like, do the right thing, respect one another, love one another, care about one another. At the end of the day, we're all Americans, and at the end of the day, we're all humans. And, we're blessed to wake up with a fresh 24 on the clock every day. And we need to admire that, because we have generation after generation who they haven't had that. We get to live longer than ever before, but we're living in
regardless of whoever's living in the White House, we're blessed to be in this country.
Exactly. I mean,
so I wake up and think about it every day, and I feel lucky to be in New York, where I feel like I'm being protected, where our numbers are low for COVID because everybody did the right thing here.
Yeah.
So
not in Florida. Don't go tell Florida that, because they're confused. Sorry, got to pick on you, Florida, Arizona. Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's weird. Everybody. Anyways, I'm like, it's strange where the president goes, numbers are high. I mean, he says they're not. I mean, I don't know. That's a whole other show we could probably cover. Why are the numbers always... Why are we always wrong and they're always right?
Because they politicized a disease, which I'd like to know. I mean, so is cancer libertarian? Like, what's cancer? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
cancerous.
how do you politicize a disease?
Cancer's libertarian. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. I don't know. I can bash on this.
Heart disease is Buddhist. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Everybody kind of goes with their own feelings on the disease, but I mean, the White House goes from it's a big deal to it's a bad deal. You know, they have their opinions. I mean, on any given day, the president could say Fox is horrible, and you see him do that. It's so hypocritical because he'll call in anytime and be on that show. It's like, thank God they depend on him for ratings, clearly. Because if it wasn't, I mean, I'm over. I think our kids are over it too. I know I've heard my daughter say it, and I have an older daughter. She's 23. And I've heard both of them say, why do we have to hear about our ratings all the time? Why is there a president standing up there like he's like, hey, Cooper, I just want to let you know our ratings are high. Like something you would hear in a production meeting at a studio is something you should hear. Our numbers are up. You don't need to hear the president. My ratings, Fox News, we had the best ratings ever on a Saturday night. Well, yeah, there was nothing else on, bro, and most of us were watching to hear the stupid things you were going to say for 2 hours.
It's honestly. Not even that. I don't work there. I don't get a bonus. I don't care what the ratings are. Why does that affect me?
Doesn't at all. Nobody cares.
Lower my taxes, balance my budget, get rid of coronavirus. I don't care what your ratings are.
Keep me safe. That's all I care. And bring our boys home from Afghanistan and Iraq. We've been there for 20 years. Bring them home and keep us safe. Keep the terrorists away. Lower my taxes. Stop trading with China. Stop hanging with your friends. And stop making Russia and North Korea look like they're our friends. They're not. I don't know why.
No, I mean, and I don't know if you know this, but Xi Jinping and Putin met 30 times this year.
Of course.
That's shocking. Because usually, the fact that they have met so much, like, what are they talking about? Why are they meeting so much? So, again, a show for another time. But
we'll have to have you back. I mean, rumor has it you want to come back. So, just the rumor.
No, you're awesome. No, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate that you already bought a copy of my book. I'd love to hear what you think about it. And I really want to hear what your 13-year-old thinks about it.
Oh, 16, she'll tell you, trust me. She'll write an essay on it, and she'll tell you if you want an interview, or she'll tell you in a heartbeat. So perfect.
I do.
Awesome. So Cooper, I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been great. Talk about a great episode. I can't wait to put this one out for everybody, but thank you so much for joining us, and have yourself a great day.
You too. Thanks, Eric.
Let's get to the point with Eric Mitchell. Let's get to the point with Eric Mitchell. We gon' talk about sports and the politics. You gon' hear what you've been needing in this.